Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that either I move out or they do something about my brother? I, 25 live with my parents in a very expensive city. We stay in a 3-bedroom high-rise. My mom recently decided she wanted to move to this city because she was tired of living in the country. I agreed to move with them because this city had many software engineering jobs. I was able to get a high-paying job and make 6 figures. My mom and dad are school teachers, and their combined income is just under what I make. My brother, James, and his wife, Mary, had originally stayed in our old state, but once she found out she was pregnant, my mom and dad invited them to move in our house. I work from home sometimes and pay 75% if the bills and mortgage, so the spare bedroom was my office. My brother and his wife showed up at my house, which I didn't know about, and demanded my room. My room has a walk-in closet and bathroom. I told them to take the office because it has an air mattress for guests. My parents told me to let them have my room. I reminded them how I pay most of the bills, and I'll move out if they have my room. My mom yelled at me and told me I was a jerk, but my dad just told them to go to the spare room. I went into the office the next day, but forgot my laptop, so during lunch, I came home and found my Sil taking my stuff out of my room. Everyone else had left for work. I yelled at her and asked what hell was she doing. She screamed back that my mom said to do this. I grabbed all her stuff that she moved, which wasn't a lot, and threw it on the floor and told her I will kick her and my brother out of her stuff is in my room when I get back from work. My brother and mom blew up my phone when I was at work. My dad started a group chat and said that there will be a family meeting when everyone gets home. I stopped at the store to grab knob with a lock for my door. My parents, Sil and brother, was sitting on the couch when I got home. My brother tried to get in my face, but I'm taller and bigger than he is, so I just put my hand on his face and shoved him out of my way. I knew this infuriated him because he's older than me. My dad told me that I should just let them have the room. My Sil smiled at me. I told them that I pay most of the bills and they are living under my room because my name is on the mortgage, and if they want the bigger room, they could either pay me rent or the 4 of them can move out. My dad tried to bargain with me, but I told him that I'm not talking about this anymore, and if I hear about it again, I will have everyone evicted. My Sil started crying, and I went to my room. My dad is treating me okay, but everyone else is giving me the silent treatment. I thought everything was okay, but the next night I came home from dinner. My mom made everyone but me a plate. She said until I give up my room and be a good son, she would not cook me dinner. My dad agreed with her. I pay for every grocery. I went into my room and printed eviction notices for my mom and dad. My brother and Sil hadn't been there long enough to be considered squatters. I told my brother and Sil they had an hour to pack and get out or I'll call the police. I told my parents they have 30 days or I'll take legal action. All our extended family stay in a different state, and they don't have the money to support 4 people in this city. My mom begged and tried giving me her plate, but I said it wasn't about the food. My parents put my brother and Sil in a hotel room for the night, and my mom tried to apologize, but I ignored her and went to my room. I'm writing this right now to see what I should do, because I'm honestly confused. Am I the a-hole? I went to work, and my parents had left out before me, which was unusual. But my mom had texted me throughout the day with apologies. I seen post that said my mom might be narcissistic, but this is the first time she's acted like this. So I was honestly hurt when it happened. But when I came home from work, my brother Sil and parents were sitting on the couch. My dad said they're sorry for the way they acted and thought because I'm usually the voice of reason that I was going to back down. My brother said the request seemed small, and because I have a perfect life, giving up one thing to accommodate him and his time of need is what family does. Side note, my brother has no debt. My father is a veteran, so we were able to get free education somehow. But because my brother changed his major 5 times, he had to pay for 3 years of extra coursework that wasn't covered. My parents took on that burden and are still in debt because of it. They also didn't sell or rent out the old house because my brother convinced them that he would so start a family there someday. So, they have some debt because of it. But my brother is not in need of everything. My brother also told me that because it's our parents' condo, they should have a final say. I explained to him that it's my condo and my name is on the mortgage, so they actually get no say in what goes around here. He was confused. He said I possibly couldn't afford this place on my salary. He said a person making $50,000 a year could not live this lifestyle. I explained to him that I make 3 times that much, and our parents can't afford to live here without me because of the mortgage back home and his student debt. James said that Dad took care of the student loans and that the old house was already paid off. I looked at my parents, wondering why they lied to him. I explained that they're in a ton of debt because of him and refused to sell the house because of what he said. James asked our parents why they didn't tell him all of this. My mom bursted out into tears, telling James they knew he was jealous of me since I was in high school. Mom knew that me playing varsity football my freshman year of high school when he rode the bench as a senior is what started his dislike. And me playing college level at a Big Ten school didn't help. We also graduated the same year. So James told Mom that it wasn't fair that got to do all those things. Mom and Dad began babying him in order to compensate for this so he wouldn't hate me and the family could continue to be around each other without animosity. James just walked out the door without speaking another word. My Sil apologized and said she didn't know it was my house. I asked her why would that change anything. She ignored my question and went to the guest room. My dad tried to explain that they felt like they failed my brother. I asked, was it just because of the football thing? He said it was because James wasn't given the same opportunities as me. I explained how James skipped school to drink and smoke and joined a gang. I asked, do you think we should have gotten the same opportunities? My dad said it was hard to explain. I told him what's easy to explain is the eviction notice, and he has 30 days. So I left to my friend's house, and that's where I'm at now. Update 2. My brother invited me out to have some drinks. I was hesitant to go at first, but I realized that it wouldn't hurt. When I seen him, he looked horrible, and I hated seeing him like that. The first thing he told me was sorry, and it seemed genuine. He then told me he was never jealous of me and was proud of all my accomplishments. He then dropped a huge bomb. During his senior year of high school, he had come home early and found Mom was home, and so was our uncle's car. At the front door, he heard moans and decided to peek through the window and seen our mom and uncle on the couch cheating on both of their spouses. He took a video as evidence, ready to show Dad. But he didn't want to break up our family. Instead of talking to anyone and getting help, he got into drugs to help him cope. But he explained that one day Mom yelled at him while he was drunk in the middle of the day, so he just showed her the video. He explained how her face got pale and she broke down crying. She promised she had broken it off when our aunt had gotten pregnant a few months after the incident had occurred. She pleaded with him not to tell Dad. He said he wasn't, but that she better do everything to make it up to Dad. Mom started the jealous thing to hide her affair, even though she knew she was the reason for the drugs and alcohol. He hadn't realized that she's been overcompensating, afraid that he was going to tell Dad. After therapy and rehab, he had been concentrating on himself and failed to see how I was being treated. He also thought it was unfair that I didn't have to live with that heavy burden and thought Mom always babied me. So, when I wouldn't give up the room, he thought it was Mom playing favorites. He almost broke down crying, saying how sorry he was and that he'll leave. I told him that wasn't necessary, and that as long as him and Sil help out, he's welcome to stay as long as wants. I asked, was he ever going to tell Dad? He said he wasn't, but would hold no resentment towards me if I did tell. So now I'm conflicted with that. But other than that, everything seems normal. Update 3. I told my dad. He surprisingly took it well. I did it in private. He admitted that his brother told him that one time when he was drunk, but he thought he was trying to upset him. I know everybody was saying that my mom was a narcissist, but she never displayed these behaviors. She was a woman loved by everyone. He never suspected a thing. He was hurt, though. He explained that he's been married for 30 years and would like for things to stay the same. I always thought Dad was kind of a pushover, so I highly doubt that he's going to confront her. I think he's comfortable with life the way it is. But my brother and Sil have paid me for bills and rent, so we're okay. My mom has apologized, and it seems genuine. She became the outgoing nice woman again, so my house has peace. I think this is going to be how it is for now on. I hope Dad is okay, though. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for telling my 21 family that my partner, 21, forced me to do a paternity test? My partner and I have been together for over 4 years, and I recently gave birth to our daughter. We had kept the pregnancy to ourselves till our baby was born happy and healthy due to worries about complications as I faced a high-risk pregnancy. We told our families after she was born, while my family was ecstatic. His was questioning if we hid it for ulterior reasons. They've always heavily disliked me and believe I'm just with their son for money. Yesterday, we took her to meet her grandparents from his side, and after some polite conversation, they dropped the bomb that they would be doing a paternity test that he agreed to. To not make myself look suspicious, I agreed to it, but afterward made it clear to my partner that I felt incredibly disrespect. Cue an argument where he told me it wasn't a big deal if it was his and that the test was requested for by them to ease their uncertainty. Fast forward to today. I was having lunch with my mother and told her about the incident, which left her pissed off and calling my partner a couple of names for insinuating I could have cheated. My mother ended up telling my grandparents, who in a rage told him they would no longer accept him in their house for disrespecting me in such a way when the child is practically his twin. We had another argument about it, and he screamed, saying I ruined his image by telling them. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Some of you are concerned about the hiding my pregnancy part, so to clarify, my partner and I live a couple hours away from our families since we live by his university and typically only see each other on holidays and specials events. On top of that, I have a very petite figure and had a rather small bump up until I gave birth, so I was hardly showing as is, which made hiding it a lot easier. Hiding it was a personal choice, as I faced horrible anxiety due to constant bleeds throughout my pregnancy, which made me fear the worst. Now for the updates. Falling. So 2 days ago, my partner's mother received the results of the paternity test, which of course showed my partner to be the father. They immediately called him super ecstatic and ready to take their place in the life of my daughter. My partner was also incredibly happy as well, since we would now be receiving their support due to the confirmation of my daughter being his. For reference, since he's studying and doesn't work, his family pays for his school and his half of bills. I, on the other hand, work and pay my half of bills myself. In other words, he's reliant on them financially, despite my insistence that we could survive off my salary. To his dismay, though, with the confirmation of his paternity assured, I told him I wanted a break from him and his family's antics. This is not the first stunt they pull that antagonizes me, and before this is flooded with questions as to why I didn't leave sooner. I was naive and thought our love for each other would beat their disapproval of our relationship. It wasn't. That is clear to me now. We ended up arguing over it, but, against his wishes, I packed a bag for me and the baby anyways and drove to stay with my parents. He apologized at night and agreed that his part in the entire paternity stunt was messed up, but that he agreed it had to be done even if he was certain she was his. Fast forward to yesterday, he texted me asking if I was willing to see him, as he missed me and the baby. I agreed, assuming we could move past the whole ordeal. My family is still against him stepping foot in their house, so we ended up meeting at a park to walk around. He apologized again and told me that the test was done so his family could trust me and willingly be a part of our daughter's life. Thought I admitted that I had no intentions of letting them be around her till they at least apologized to me. This heated him up, and he began screaming, claiming that, as her father, I had no right to keep her from his family, no matter what they did. I disagreed, though, advising him that if they couldn't respect me, they had no reason to be a part of her life. The argument went nowhere, and I left with the baby back to my parents. He's since been texting and calling me, saying that he'd take me to court if I deprive his family access to her. I don't think my position on the matter is wrong, but to him, I'm an a-hole for it. Edit. Before any more comments are made about my position about his parents, there's more to it than just the test. I had always stressed to my partner that I wanted his mother specifically at a distance from our child. This was due to how horrific she treated us both for the first year of our relationship prior to us moving out together. Secondly, the woman is bipolar and abused my partner both physically and mentally when he was growing up as a child due to him having ADHD and being more hyper. This is what he told me, at least. Knowing this, I'm obviously weary of his mother around my daughter. The paternity test was just the nail on the coffin for me. Final update. I wasn't planning to update, but upon seeing all the requests, I figured I'd do one. If you want the full story, it's all up on my profile. Since my last update, which was around 9 months ago, a lot has happened. As if the paternity test, awful in-laws, and disrespect wasn't enough, my partner was also cheating on me. According to him, it was all emotional and nothing physical, although I find a hard time believing this. Turns out this emotional affairs have been going since I was pregnant, with multiple girls. He got caught after deciding last second to meet up with one of them at 11 p.m. one night. He claims they were just playing poker with a group and weren't alone together. Likely story. He was ignoring my messages and calls, so I called his best friend, thinking he was with him, who gave him away. Since then, we obviously broke up, and I moved down with my family and our daughter. Originally, I tried to be a bigger person and consider our daughter before my own feelings and decided to co-parent. He would come see her on weekends, and for a while it worked. Soon enough, he also moved down to his mother's house after his semester ended, and he claimed our place was too much for him to pay alone. This, although maybe not a lie, wasn't his real reason for moving down. Due to his lack of attending class and poor grades, he was kicked from his university. This is relevant for later. Fast forward a bit, and he's began demanding to have her overnight rather than only the day. I told him he couldn't because she was still strictly breastfed and needed me at all times. He decided to argue our custody at court once and for all. Granted, up until now, I hadn't asked him for a penny for our daughter ever, or much of anything really. If he saw her, it was his choice, and I never made him pay me any sort of child support. After going to court, not only does he have to pay me quite a hefty sum for child support, but he wasn't even awarded partial custody. The court discovered that on top of not having a stable job, he also doesn't have a stable living situation after his mother kicked him onto the streets. Yeah, the mother dearest that he was at beck and call for left him homeless and disowned him after she discovered he was kicked out of his university. For as much as I want to say it's karma, I don't believe anyone deserves to be in any situation like that. That was all back in June. Now, he and I are doing better. He's moved into a studio, and we agreed he could have her every other week, plus on his off days from work. Admittedly, it's been hard to not break down whenever he's around me. I still feel a lot of the pain from when I discovered I endured so much just for him to find solace with other women. But he and I have moved past it for the most part and are co-parenting without problems. Thankfully, I want to say I've come out stronger. Our daughter has become my main focus, and I even advanced in my career to a place where I can live rather comfortably. It's not the happy ending I wish I could have gotten, if I'm honest, but I think given everything, it's the best one. Edit. When I said every other weekend, I did not mean overnight. He only has her during the day. In total, he has her about 8 days of the month during the day. It's not 50-50 custody, as he still has no rights over her other than seeing her. While it may not seem wise to abide 100% to the court rulings, my daughter adores her father, and while he may have been a cheating partner, he hasn't been a bad father. If it comes to bite me in the ass, so be it, but my daughter deserves to have her father around for more than 4 days in a month. This doesn't mean he and I will get back together. I have established that isn't happening ever.